Welcome to this explainer. Okay, so the world is literally transforming right before our eyes. We're shifting away from fossil fuels, but replacing the traditional gas station with a charging plug. Well, that's creating this massive, chaotic, and honestly fascinating new ecosystem. Today, we're going to unpack the entire interconnected infrastructure that's currently powering the electric vehicle revolution, from the big macro markets all the way down to microgrids. We've got a lot of ground to cover today. We'll be looking at, number 1, the luxury EV market boom. 2, wiring the public corridors. 3, grid-free and portable solutions. 4, piloting future grid innovations. And 5, smoothing out the bumps. All right, let's just jump right in. Starting with Section 1, the luxury EV market boom, a global surge. To really understand the pressure our infrastructure is under, you have to look at the sheer scale of global demand. By 2036, the luxury EV market alone is projected to hit a completely astonishing $478.2 billion. That represents an 8% compound annual growth rate. This isn't just some fringe movement anymore, you know? Every major luxury OEM is committing to an electric-only or electric majority portfolio in the next decade. And this explosive growth is putting immense, real-world pressure on our grid. Because we aren't just charging up little golf carts here. Heavy-hitting SUVs and crossovers, they're dominating the market at 47.2%. Plus, modern batteries are now pushing well past 500 kilometers of range per charge. When you factor in commercial rideshare networks like EVgo, seeing unprecedented charging demand, it begs a massive question. Where on earth are all these high-capacity vehicles actually going to plug in? That brings us to Section 2, wiring the public corridors, the state blueprint. Solving this puzzle starts at the federal level with the NEVI program, which stands for National Electric Vehicle Infrastructure. To basically guarantee you never get stranded, federal requirements mandate that charging stations along alternative fuel corridors have to be placed in maximum 25-mile segments. So the days of white-knuckling the steering wheel in a dead zone, just praying you make it to the next plug, those are officially numbered. In practice, states like Massachusetts are taking these federal funds and aggressively beating those baseline requirements. They're completely blanketing major highways so that, on average, stations are actually less than 25 miles apart. They are making absolutely sure that major travel routes across the state are fully covered and easily accessible. But let's be real, building all this out is not cheap. It requires heavily subsidizing the chargers out there on the road. In fact, nearly 68% of all public chargers in Massachusetts have been supported by some form of state or federal funding. Programs like Mass EVIP have dispersed around $35 million to offset what the industry calls make-ready costs. Basically, those are the incredibly expensive electrical grid upgrades you have to do before you can even think about plugging a charger in. Which naturally leads us to Section 3, grid-free and portable solutions, filling the gaps. Because here's the catch. Grid installations take a ton of time. They take permits, and frankly, not everyone has a dedicated driveway for a home charger. To see how the industry is bypassing those traditional infrastructure delays, let's look at 2 totally different portable solutions side by side, the EV BeeCharged and the SparkCharge. First up is the EV BeeCharged. This is an incredibly versatile plug-and-play level 2 system. Now, it's not a hyper-fast highway charger meant for road trips, but it provides up to 22 kilowatts of power and actually adjusts its output automatically based on your home's circuit so you don't overload anything. It does rely on an external power source, sure, but its intelligence makes it perfectly portable, super easy to set up, and ideal for temporary or home use. But then you have SparkCharge, which completely flips the script. It literally doesn't need the grid at all. It uses modular, stackable 3.7 kilowatt-hour battery units to deliver DC fast charging anywhere you want. We're talking 90 to 125 kilowatts of power output. You can essentially just wheel this thing up to an EV and add 60 to 70 miles of range in an hour, entirely off the grid. It's kind of mind-blowing. So the contrast here is just stark. Traditional fixed stations require massive upfront capital, endless permitting, and heavy construction that can drag on for months. SparkCharge's mobile charging as a service model, on the other hand, it deploys instantly, delivered directly to the vehicle without a single electrical upgrade. It's a total game changer. Moving on to Section 4, piloting future grid innovations, smarter management. So the really crucial point now becomes managing this incredibly complex web of fixed, state-funded chargers alongside these new grid-free portable units. You can't just have millions of cars plugging in at 6 p.m. without completely breaking the grid.
That's why tech giants like ChargePoint are stepping in. They're providing the intelligent software backbone required to monitor and optimize all these disparate charging tools, basically acting as a traffic cop to ensure energy flows exactly where it's needed.
And that innovation, it flows both ways, literally. Massachusetts is currently rolling out pilot programs for something called Vehicle to Everything, or V2X. This is bidirectional charging, and it transforms the cars themselves into mobile backup batteries. During peak hours or grid outages, your EV can actually discharge energy back into the grid. Your car basically becomes a decentralized power plant. How cool is that? We're also seeing some brilliant hyper-local deployments meant to support a wide variety of users. Take Boston, for example. They're targeting 250 curbside chargers, which includes streetlight-mounted units specifically for renters who don't have driveways. Meanwhile, the state is building dedicated fast-charging hubs just for high-mileage rideshare drivers, and they're even piloting mobile, off-grid charging stations for heavy-duty commercial fleets.
Let's wrap up with Section 5, smoothing out the bumps, the reality on the ground.
Because it's exciting as all of this macro and micro innovation is, mashing it all together comes with very real growing pains. It definitely hasn't been smooth sailing. The actual contractors on the ground, the folks physically building out these state networks, have voiced some deep frustrations. They've pointed out bureaucratic delays, highly inconsistent program roles, and pretty poor communication that are actively disrupting business and slowing down the whole public rollout. So, in response to that outcry, the Electric Vehicle Infrastructure Coordinating Council, or EVICC, is pushing some urgent recommendations. They are heavily focused on streamlining those utility applications, untangling all that red tape, allowing for incentive stacking, and just generally forcing state agencies to communicate better so we can get these chargers in the ground way faster. Which leaves us with this final thought. As hundreds of billions of dollars pour into this EV market, as massive highway corridors are hardwired by the state, and as stackable, grid-free batteries are literally being wheeled right up to our bumpers, are you ready to finally leave range anxiety in the rearview mirror? Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and keep your eyes on the grid.